We have talked a lot this week about building your personal brand, but what about those of you who want to totally shift to a new career? Well, today on the prescription for career success, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you successfully change your career in 2025. My name is Dr. Christy Taylor. I'm a career and executive coach and the founder of Work Solutions LLC. And whether you are pivoting to a new industry, chasing your passion, or simply looking for more alignment with your values, career transitions require strategy and confidence. Sometimes it happens and it's beyond our control, but for the most part, we have an opportunity to plan and really focus in on our next steps. Whenever I'm coaching clients, I really tell them to think about where do you want to be 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 2 years, 12 months, really map that process out. A strategic career plan isn't one that just kind of goes with the flow. Within that dynamic of going with the flow, you still need at least a loose framework of a plan so that you can kind of know the direction that you want to go. Now, I am all about being open minded and taking opportunity as it comes, but I really do believe that you need some type of framework. That's really like from a coaching perspective, one of the things that I like to say that when I'm working with clients, I really give you framework and resources, and it's really up to the client to take those next steps. So today I'm going to talk to you about 5 actionable steps to help you make your next career move a success because we've been talking a lot about personal branding. And so what happens when that road is no longer a straight road, right? It becomes windy. Well, you have to assess your personal brand because that is a critical part of changing careers. It's going to be how you communicate your value to a new audience. You're going to have to find those commonalities, hard skills, soft skills, those things that really make you an asset. Really pay attention to the crossover skills. I want you to start by identifying the skills and the experiences that you already have that align with your target industry. And I'm going to encourage you to apply for jobs that you may or may not have considered before, but just take a step of faith because you never know. The employer may be looking at, again, that crossover job set. So don't be afraid to apply for a job simply because it's not in your wheelhouse. You might have a crossover skill set that employer finds interesting or necessity. They might decide to interview you anyway. I've known many people to get a job in a new field just simply by taking a shot on themselves and applying. Now, one of the things that you want to do when you are identifying those skills and those experiences you that align, you want to go start by updating the most obvious. Update the LinkedIn profile, your resume, and all of your, as I like to say, career branding assets. And that includes even the elevator pitch that we've been talking so much about to highlight your transferable skills. So, for example, if you are transitioning from teaching to project management, you should really emphasize your organizational skills, communication abilities, and your leadership experience. I cannot tell you the number of teachers who come to me and say, Christy, I don't know what I'm going to do next because I was just a classroom teacher. Sounds like to me, when I'm giving you advice, I'm telling them, what about you being a project manager, a facilitator, an organizer? Like I'm telling them all of these skills that as educators, we don't always think about up front. But you are managing the classroom, you're managing 25 to 30 different personalities. There's a lot that goes with that. So that's just one example. Now, your personal brand should tell a clear, cohesive story about why you're the perfect fit for your new career path. So you really need to pay attention to that. My recommendation is to, start with that foundation of researching the types of jobs you will be interested in, identifying your current skill set and what would really be a match for the type of roles you want to pursue. But again, never underestimate your abilities or experiences. If you feel that you're a good fit for a job and the skills align, at least apply for it because you never know. You might get an interview. And if you go to that interview and it doesn't work out, you can still learn something from the experience. So the first thing I told you was here to assess your personal brand. So we've talked about that. Now I want to take a look at you leveraging your network. There is a reason why we are in these spaces such as LinkedIn and why I'm posting content on all of these platforms. Changing careers is easier when you have the right connections. So don't be afraid to reach out to your existing network and let them know about your career goals. Again, use platforms like LinkedIn to connect with professionals in your target industry, and do not hesitate to ask for informational interviews. They're just a great way to learn and build relationships. Now, I once had a client who was transitioning into tech, and one of the things that I advised them was to reach out to someone that they met in a webinar, and that conversation led to a referral, and eventually the client received a new job. So don't be afraid to leverage your network to ask questions, even if you're just reaching in somebody's inbox to ask them a question, or if you're talking to a recruiter. Just don't be afraid to do that. The only thing that you can be told is no. And no, it's completely okay, because that means it just wasn't a fit for you, or maybe that person didn't just have the time to speak to you in that moment. But keep going. Now, the third thing that I'm going to suggest is, like, you have taken time to identify all of your skills, the things that you want to do, or where you might be a fit currently. And I want to recommend that you don't be afraid also to upskill and reskill. How many times have you taken a course or done something to broaden your perspective? This is no different. Career changes, they're going to come with requirements for new knowledge or certifications. So you need to identify the key skills needed in your target industry, wherever it is that you want to go, and just start building them now. Use resources again like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Udemy, or other industry specific certifications to bridge that gap. Right now, AI is a hot thing. Also, you having skills in being able to do spreadsheets, data analytics, take courses in Excel, SQL, or data visualization. Take courses on how to leverage Chat GPT or other AI tools to do your job more efficiently. But get really familiar with that stuff, because it's going to help you. Showcasing your commitment to learning can make you stand out to employers. So if you're going into an interview and maybe you are taking a class on a topic, you're transitioning into this field, and you're broadening your skill set, it's okay to bring that up in an interview to say, look, I'm actually pursuing my project management certification right now. Now, I've done some project management, but not from the scope of this comprehensive project management lead. But here's what I'm doing to close those gaps. Right. And so just be able to speak to what you've done and what you've been able to deliver on, because you never know. There may be an opportunity there for you. Now, if one of the things too that I'm going to recommend, which is number 4, is start small with transitional roles. So again, if I know I wanted to become a project manager, when I got my first project manager job transitioning out of education, I said, look, I have the skill set of a project manager. Here's what I can do in terms of what I can deliver for you for leading these types of educational development projects. And then I was brought on board to be a lead for a project, and eventually went on to at least get my some project management certifications and take some courses in project management. So, don't be afraid to step into a role that's going to get you to a next level. And for me, it's been pretty progressive ever since I've made the transition. Now, I'm speaking to you on today's podcast as somebody who has made that transition, working in education for almost 20 years, and then making the transition into something else. So don't be afraid to step out. But sometimes you do have to take a role to maybe you're starting small and you're taking a transition role to get that new title or to get that experience. Don't be afraid to do that. You just have to be considerate of whether or not it's going to impact your salary or your living expenses in some way. Is the sacrifice actually worth doing? Because for me, it was definitely worth it. Within a year and a half, I was making the salary that I wanted. So you have to just kind of weigh the sacrifice there. Now, those transitional roles are going to allow you to build relevant experience while still leveraging your existing skills. So, for example, if you're moving from healthcare to corporate training, you should look for roles in employee wellness or health education. Or even if you're a nurse, I have a lot of nurses who want to transition from bedside to nurse educator. And so I write the resume accordingly. So just think about what it is that you want to do, and then start kind of prepping yourself. Transitional roles are going to provide you with a smoother path while helping you to build the confidence in whatever new field that you want to pursue. And sometimes when we talk about this ideology of transition, it doesn't have to be a big jump. Like, for example, I went from being a classroom educator to a project management lead and doing professional development. So think about where maybe you have that flow where you don't have to make as much of a sacrifice unless you just totally want to get into something new. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is to be persistent and adaptable. Career changes, they don't happen overnight. You need to stay persistent even when you face setbacks. It can be frustrating. I'm going to be honest. We live in an economy where people are getting laid off. You know, there might be a demand for us to go back into the office if you're teleworking. All kinds of things are happening. So you just have to be aware of that. Tailor your applications to each opportunity, emphasizing how your background really makes you a unique candidate. And that is why that little career branding statement is going to be so important. You really need to think that through for each of the interviews that you have or networking events or opportunities, because usually the first question in an interview you're going to get is tell us why you applied for this job or some form of that, right? And you want to be able to answer that in a succinct manner that really shows them from the get-go that you have the skills that it takes to succeed in that role. Now, remember that every no is one step closer to the right yes. So you have to keep going. You celebrate the small wins along the way, like securing informational interviews or completing a new certification. Changing careers in 2025 is entirely possible with the right strategy, mindset, and preparation. Again, sometimes it's optional. Sometimes you might be forced into the situation because, again, layoffs, things happening, maybe you don't have a great work environment. So it's really sometimes it's out of our control before the fact. For as much as we can control, you should prepare yourself. So speaking of career transitions, I want you to join me on January 23rd at 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. for my free webinar called Land Your Dream Job in 2025. And all of this stuff that we've been talking about, I'm just going to go through that webinar. I'm going to be there to really give you some tips and tricks to help you that you can apply immediately in 2025 and help you get to the next level. I'm going to give you those 10 proven strategies to elevate your career, showcase your strengths, and secure your dream role with confidence. This is really all about more like a question and answer session, but I'm just going to highlight some things that you can apply immediately to start making a difference in your career. So tomorrow we're going to continue to explore other topics to help you grow and thrive in your career. Until then, take one step towards your career goals today and trust this process. Remember, don't forget to register for the webinar and click the link to claim your spot. Have a great